close together, you can record that last number as a 0.0, a 0.00, or something like that. You got to get into the right place. Even if the last digit that you estimate, you say is a 0. Because then at least you are in the right place, ladies and gentlemen, and at least then I can give you credit for the measurement. Now, as Amarian just said, the first three, you were just reading the instrument, and when you read the instrument, then you could figure out what place it was reading to because it's a digital instrument. Okay? There are no markings to look for on a digital instrument. You look at what the display tells you, and then you go and you say, okay, this is going to places beyond the decimal point. So the place it reads to is the hundredth. The place that you would report to is the hundredth, because with a digital instrument, we do not go one beyond it. Questions? Now, again, a few people did the top part of the lab, didn't do the questions. I returned it to you. I did not grade it. I returned it to you. You need to answer these two questions and write your conclusion and then turn it in. Okay? Now, I do want to talk about this first question because just about everybody who's I looked at struggled with this. What actually determines the precision of the instrument when you make a measurement? What do you actually look at that says, oh, this reads to the ones place. Oh, this reads to the tenths place. Oh, this reads to the whatever place. What on the instrument do you actually look at? But in an instrument, there aren't sig figs. But that's okay. That is a good guess. And you are right. The last sig fig is important in a measurement. Okay? Here's an instrument. On the top here. That's a good focus job. Okay, on the top here, 10 or 120, 130, 140, 150. The tens place, correct? What places are these? So what do you look at? What do we call these? No. What do we call these things? Markers. They're the markers. They're the lines. They're the markings. That is what you look at on an instrument to determine what place a number reads to. What are the markings on it? What are the lines on it? What is it marked out in? That is what determines the precision of this instrument. The fact that these lines, these markings here, represent the ones place. 221, 222, 223. Now, granted, these are numbered. These are not. So sometimes there are numbers to represent it, sometimes there are not. Yes, sir. Okay. So every instrument, except for a digital one that you look at, has to have marks that represent the numbers. The numbers may or may not be there. There is no number by this mark. But because it is between 210 and 220, we know that it has to be 215. The mark is what tells you what place an instrument reads to. Okay? So that is what we were expecting, or that is what you should have given us for that one, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Now, why is it important to look at different kinds of graduated cylinders before you choose one for the lab? For the same reason, why is it important to use different balances? We want to use whatever instrument gives us the most what?
Precise.
Precision, or the most precise measurement. Absolutely. If you have the choice between using a balance that reads to the tenths and one that reads to the hundredths, use the one that reads to the hundredths. Yes.
I said
That same thing, but I use accurate, not precision. Did I get that wrong?
Yes, because accurate is how close it is to a target. Accurate is different than precision. Okay? Accurate is how close you come. So accuracy is, did you get the number that you were supposed to? Precision is how sharp that number is. Okay? How sharp that number is. Okay? So the two often get confused, but what we were talking about in this lab was precision. Nowhere did I say, hey, that box was supposed to be 0.4563 meters. That would be the target, and then you would be trying to get as close to that with your measurement as you could. Okay? We didn't do that. We just were working with precision here. By the way, if what is data? What does data mean?
Information you got.
Okay, but specifically, what kind is data? Numbers. Numbers. So in here, use data to show you made a proper measurement. If you didn't write a number down in here, it was easy. I took off 1 point. Because I wanted you to write some piece of data. You could have said that when we put the block on the balance, it was 74.365 grams. That would have been a piece of data. Some number. Okay? Some number that you collected. Now, ideally, what we wanted you to do is tell us how we find precision. We look at the marks on an instrument. How do we make a proper measurement? When we find the place the marks are in, we go one more. So, for example, when we used a volumetric flask that read to the hundreds place, I was only able to give a number like 50 milliliters or 40 milliliters, using an example from your lab. Okay? Now, here's what I will tell you. You are going to make measurements in this class over and over and over again all year long. Okay? Please, please, please learn from this lab. The balances that we have in the back will be the balances that we use all year long. They go to 3 places beyond the decimal. Those are the most precise balances that I can get for you guys. Okay? 3 places beyond the decimal. So if you take a number like 12.500 and you write 12.5, I might as well put out the balances that you used when you were in a freshman class. Because that's what you've done. You've taken something that is a very precise instrument that measures something, and you have made it so that it is not so precise because we dropped the zeros. Measuring mass in this class is going to be easy. The balances do it for you. And just about any time we measure with a graduated cylinder, I think every graduated cylinder that I have just about reads to the ones place. So you can always go one beyond that to the tens. But again, if you're confused, ask me and we will go through it at the beginning of a lab and we'll talk about what place the instrument reads to so you make your measurement properly. Questions? Okay. So that is what I wanted to get through on the lab. Thank you very much. If you didn't turn it in yesterday, please turn it in today because you will get some credit for it, but not the full credit that other people did. All right. Number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow you have a test. Okay? Your test is worth 56 points. There are 56 points on your test. However, I am only grading it out of 50. What that means is there are an extra 6 points on your test that you can get wrong anywhere on the test and still get 100%. So that is kind of like my way of curving the test for you. Okay? There are extra points built into it. More than what is going to go in the grade book. Now, at the end, I have 3 bonus questions that have absolutely nothing to do with science. You read them, and if you can answer them and give me an answer, you will get 2 points for each of them. And if you get something wrong on the test, those 2 points will take the place of those questions. And it is possible for you to get a score of 112% on the test tomorrow. If you can get everything right and those 3 bonus questions right. Okay? Now, if you get those 3 bonus questions right and get something wrong, doesn't matter. They're all points on the test. Okay? So it's not like those bonus questions are going to hurt you. So please try to answer them. Okay? The other thing, on your test tomorrow, over 10% of your test comes off of this one definition, chemistry. The science of the study of matter, its structure, its properties, its composition, and the changes it undergoes. You write that on the test correctly, you get 6 out of 6 points. That is literally 12% of your entire grade. 6 out of 50, that's 12%. I'm telling you, it's going to be on there. I am telling you, you are going to need to know the difference between a quantitative observation and a qualitative observation. Qualitative observations was the lab we did where you had the objects on the tray and you were trying to get or describe them and get the people who were guessing to not guess which object you had first. So you might have described the object as a solid, then you might have described it as no odor, then you might have described it as it is shiny. Those are qualitative observations. Quantitative observations are literally what you did in the lab 2 days ago. In the precision lab, every observation that you made gave you a number. That is a quantitative observation, and I hope I said that right just a second ago. Quantitative means there has to be a number involved. Qualitative, no number. Okay? Now, earlier on your quiz, I gave you things like control, constant, variable, experiment, hypothesis. Telling you those are on there in a matching fashion. So here is the definition. Which term is it that it goes to? I don't know a good way for you to memorize those things. But I will tell you this. Can I borrow this for a second, Genesis? Whatever notes, whatever things you want to put on this yellow sheet, you can use on your test tomorrow. Anything you want to write on here, front and back, you can use it. Okay? So any additions that you want to put on there, any terms that you're struggling with knowing the definitions for, boom, that is where they should go. Okay? Now, anyone have any questions on the definitions part of it? Yes.
What's the definition of matter?
Of matter? Anything that has mass and takes up space. Okay? So literally we could define matter in 2 words, mass and space. If you have those 2 things, you have to be matter. By the way, I am not a huge fan of reading a big long answer on a test. So when I ask you for a definition, I would like you to be as brief as possible. And unfortunately what happens is when people aren't sure, then they normally decide that I'm going to write as much stuff as I can and hope somewhere in there I get it right. Okay? That's what normally happens. Okay? I am looking for short definitions. The only one that comes close to a sentence is our definition of chemistry. But if I ask you to define matter and you tell me mass and volume, I'm good with that. Anything that has mass and volume, I am good with that.
Is it mass and volume or mass and space?
Volume is the amount of space something takes up. So there are 2 different ways of saying the same thing. Okay? Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you on that because you're right. They are the same. You could say it as takes up space or you could say it as has volume. Either one. Okay? Either one. Okay? But I guess my question is, those definitions that we gave you earlier this unit, that it was a while ago. It was over 3 weeks ago. Any of those that you would like me to go over, any of those that you would like me to refresh with you? We then did precision and accuracy. Remember the picture of our archery targets. Remember the arrows in there. Precision and accuracy are two very different things. Accuracy is all about how close you come to hitting your target. So if we're talking about archery, it's how close your arrow is to the middle. And if somebody's arrow is that far off from the middle and yours is this far off from the middle, you are more accurate than they are. Now, precision, there were two different ways of looking at it. In archery, precision would mean you fire 3 or 4 arrows and they are all close together. Precision would be we ask this row of students to go and measure the width of a block on the wall. They come back with their numbers and their numbers should all be close together. That's precision. Okay? But then there's the precision of one individual measurement, which is what we did in the lab 2 days ago. When we used the balance in the middle of the station, the one with the glass box around the top, that went to 0.001. When we used another balance, it only went to 0.01. Another balance only went to 0.1. Those are all different precisions. How sharp the measurement is or how far beyond the decimal it goes. Okay? So that is another definition. I would look over the accuracy and precision worksheet that you did or didn't do, because you may see something like that on your test. Hint, 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 hint. Man.
Was that a hint?
No. That was a hint, 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 hint. Okay? Questions? I'm telling you right now, I'm going to show you a number, and I'm going to ask you how many sig figs it has. Okay? So I'm going to show you a number and ask you how many sig figs it has. The only digit we ever question in sig figs is what? A 0. Now, there are only 3 places a 0 can be in a number.
Front, middle, and back.
Front, middle, and end. Beginning, middle, and end. Front, middle, and back. You can say it however you want. And you can have multiple zeros in all of those spots. These zeros are all at the beginning. These zeros are never significant. They have to be there so that we get the value of the number. But as far as sig figs goes, I don't care about it. They never count. This 0 and this 0 are in the middle. Middle zeros are always significant. They always count. Because the only way we can have a number on either side of them that is not a 0 is if we measured those numbers. So these zeros had to get measured in this somehow. It just happens that the value of that digit or the value of that place came out to be 0. Yes?
Do you ever write in lowercase letters?
Very rarely. Very rarely.
Can you write one real quick?
Can I write what?
A lowercase
Right,
letter?
beginning.
I know how to.
Oh no.
Now you know why I don't write in lowercase letters. Okay? Ever since I was in high school and took a drafting class, I write all in capitals. But at least I make some a bigger capital if I think it needs to be capitalized. Okay?
What?
So I will sometimes write D is bigger here for double stuff. The S is bigger. They're all capital, but I write certain ones bigger than others. The first ones occasionally. This is why I don't write beginning. Okay? And while I have the ability, maybe, there's a reason I don't write in cursive.
That's
Yeah, well, let me tell you, when you got a last name Brand, the double N's at the end of your name when you're signing it just become one long line. Okay? One long line.
Is that supposed
The
to
worst-
be Brand?
No, that was supposed to be beginning.
Can you write Brand?
Can you
real quick?
put your signature up there?
Do your signature.
Yeah, your signature.
You guys want to copy it or what?
No, it's
No.
just funny looking.
Oh. G. Where
That's
did
it.
G come from?
That's a J. It's my middle initial.
Okay. No.
Oh, I forgot it. I
Wait,
used to know freshman year.
what's your first name?
Christopher.
No,
C-H-R-I. That's
Chris.
an S and a T?
Top her. J. Brian.
Sure. Oh.
Again, I could have been a doctor maybe. Okay? The worst part is we took my son and he was, I want to say, maybe a freshman in high school to change a bank account for him and he had to sign his name on some paperwork. And he pulls out his phone and I'm like, what are you doing? Dad, I got to look up how to sign my name. I don't know how to write in cursive. Okay.
You see where he gets it from. I'm just kidding.
I know how to write. I just don't do it very neatly. The teacher next door, Mr. Arts, he wrote beautiful cursive. Beautiful
Is that the
cursive.
one with the long hair?
Yep, that was the guy with the long hair.
He was my teacher last year.
Okay. These are at the end. Okay? Now, these are the only ones that are ever in question as to if they are significant or not. The middle always are, the beginning they never are. So the question is, are the ones at the end significant?
Yes.
The answer becomes yes
Decimal.
if there is a decimal in the number. And I don't care where the decimal is. So, for example, the decimal could be after the last zero. That makes this zero significant because that zero is still at the end of the number. And that decimal will make it significant. These zeros are significant because here's the decimal point. It is in the number. So, yes if there's a decimal, no if there is not. Now, as Amira told us earlier, if you're talking about numbers that end in zeros that are not significant, those have to be whole numbers. They will not be a decimal because obviously there's no decimal in the number. So this number has 3 sig figs because of the decimal. This number only has 2. No decimal, not significant. Questions? How would we take this number and round to the 10th place?
16.1. You just guess.
20.
Okay, 20 is not going to help us.
Okay.
Your closest was 16.1, but that changes the value a little bit.
2.
0.
16.0. We can take and we can add a 0.0 to a number because it doesn't change the value. It's still 16. But what we managed to do is add another sig fig here. So your calculator, when you add, subtract, multiply, or divide, gives you this. But we need one more sig fig. We put 0.0 at the end. Okay? We put 0.0 at the end. Questions?
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, go ahead. 4,352. If we round this to the tens place, what does that number become?
No, 4,352.00.
Nope. Tens.
Oh,
This is the tens place.
so 43.52.
Okay, now what you're doing is you're changing the value when you do 43.52. So,
4 point?
think of it this way. Okay? The tens place is right here. This number needs to end with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Something like that. So, if we're going to round this number to the tens place, we always look one after it to see if we round it up, correct?
Correct.
So are we going to leave this a 5 or make it into a 6? The number after it is a 2, man. I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay. So we're going to leave this a 5, correct?
Yeah.
So we write down the 4, the 3, and the 5. And then, in place of that 0 or 2, we put a 0. The 0 is not significant. Why? Because there's no decimal. So this number ends in the tens place. This number ends in the tens. Questions? Okay. So for measurements, by the way, uncertain digit in this number. Which digit is the uncertain digit in this number? What? Which digit? 3060500. Only one digit is uncertain. Which one is it?
0.
Which one?
For 306.
This number up here. We won't count these because we know these aren't significant.
The zero.
Wait.
The first 0.
This one?
Yeah.
Nope.
I mean, my bad. The second 0.
This one?
Yep.
Nope.
My bad.
You want to keep going?
The last 0.
Ooh, you skipped the third one.
The third 0.
No,
No,
it's the last.
one. What? Because it's at the end, man. You're not gonna do me like that, man.
Well, you did the first 2. I thought you were working your way around.
No, do me like that, man.
All right.
I got it right, man.
Which one is the uncertain digit here?
0 to be before the
The
period.
decimal.
Which one here?
The same one. The same one.
The 0?
Huh?
2.
The 2.
This is on 2.
There's only 2 sig figs. The 0 can't be the uncertain digit here because it's not even significant.
So
So,
the uncertain digit
go ahead.
is the digit that you're uncertain about.
Correct.
So how would a 2 be uncertain?
Which is, well, because this measurement was between 300 and 400, so you called it 320.
Oh, so bang. So you was like, oh, it might be.
Okay. So, normally the uncertain digit is the last digit. Normally.
Typically.
The one exception.
Oh, but it was when it was counted tens.
Well, correct. The one exception is if your last digits are not significant. So the last, what is called sig fig, the last one that you would count is always the uncertain digit. Here it's the 5, here it's the 0, because they are the last sig fig. Uncertainty always lies in your last sig fig. Questions? Okay. Now I'm telling you on the quiz or on the test, there will be pictures of instruments. And I may ask you, okay, what kind of measurement does this instrument take?
Subtraction.
So no. That's a mathematical operation. On the back table, the balances, what kind of measurement do they take?
Balance.
They measure in grams, that's the unit, but what kind of measurement? They measure mass. They measure mass. How about the graduated cylinders in the back?
Liquid.
Well, what about a liquid? I agree with you, they do measure a liquid. What about a liquid do these measure? The what? I heard someone say it, and it wasn't mass, I'm sorry. The volume. These measure the volume of an object. Okay? If I had a ruler, what would it measure?
Length.
Good. Okay? It would measure length. What's the base unit for length?
Meters.
Very good. Meters. What is the base unit for mass?
Grams.
Good. What if I told you that the unit was seconds? What could you tell me?
Time.
And?
Minutes. Milliseconds.
No.
Time.
It is measuring time.
And
Okay? And second, let me rephrase that. I didn't give you a very good question. What instrument could have been used?
a timer.
A timer, a stopwatch. So if you know a unit, you should be able to tell me what instrument and what type of measurement it is. If you know the type of measurement, you should be able to give me an instrument and a unit for it. Questions? When there are metric conversion problems on your quiz, all they will be is a matter of what's happening to your unit what does that cause to happen to your number?
Huh? When the unit goes up, your number goes down.
Good. So whatever direction your unit goes, your number goes the opposite way. Now we are not getting into this discussion again.
What about
But
Calvin?
which one of these is the larger unit?
The right.
The 1 meter?
Yeah.
The one that has the smaller number with it is always the larger unit. Okay? The one that has the smaller number with it is always the larger unit.
And just because it's a larger unit doesn't mean it's more.
Well, again, we're not getting into that whole discussion because you could take and have the same amount of something with a larger unit and a smaller number, as in a smaller number and larger unit. We're not getting into that though. Questions? All right. So here's what I got for you, ladies and gentlemen. You've listened to me enough. If you have questions, I will be more than happy to answer them. But if you go into Canvas, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, computer's locked up again. If you go into Canvas, you will find in the modules down at the bottom here a Unit 1 test review. You will not see the test yet. It has not been published, so don't be looking for it. Unit 1 test review. So if you click on this, ladies and gentlemen,
Test right
here
here.
is the assignment that you can work on that is a review for the test. Now, I want to show you this before you get going. Right up here is the answer key for it. So if you want to open the answer key, and it doesn't matter to me if you cheat, I'm not collecting this. No, but here's my point. My point is, if you do a problem and you're like, okay, is this right? Here you go. You can see if it's right. So if I were busy helping somebody else in the class, you could see if you at least got the right answer. If you got the right answer, move on. If you didn't and you need me to come over and explain why I got an answer that was different than yours, I will be more than happy to. So when you open it up, ladies and gentlemen, this looks like this. So complete the following table. If I gave you an instrument of a stopwatch, what unit would it be measured in? What symbol? By the way, the symbol is just the shorthand way of writing the unit. Okay? So, for example, what's the unit for a stopwatch? What's one of them?
Time.
But what's the unit?
Seconds. Minutes.
Seconds.
Hours.
So for seconds, we could put S for the symbol, or SEC.
Yeah.
Okay? Then the measurement would be time. Okay? So this is here for you. Okay? You can take a look at it. The one thing I don't have in here, ladies and gentlemen, is I don't have a lot of definitions. So for your definitions, back into Google or into Canvas.
And we're gonna turn this in?
No, you do not, sir.
Because
You do not.
Graded.
Here is a Quizlet that you can use. When you open up the Quizlet, ladies and gentlemen, this has all or almost all of the definitions in it. So when you open up this Quizlet, you have a few different games or activities you could do, or you could simply use them as flashcards. You could use them as a test if you wanted to. So now you can go through the terms and the definitions and see if you remember what the terms and the definitions were. So, again, that is there for you to use. Questions? You've got about a half an hour left to class, ladies and gentlemen. You can work on either the unit review, you could work on the Quizlet. If there is something that you are missing for this class,
You probably should do it, man.
a lab or the lab safety quiz or something like that, here's your chance to get it done. Okay? Here's your chance to get it done. Go to work, ladies and gentlemen. Go to work, go to work, go to work.